So this is Jeff Mucci with RCR Wireless News. We're here today with Ian Ferguson.
Hello.
With ARM, and it's going to tell us a bit about why ARM seems to be so pervasive in the Internet of Things.
Well, how do I start? So, really, as you probably know, Internet of Things, very wide variety of applications. One size does not fit all, and ARM's business model is about building fundamental building blocks of technology, which has started with hardware and now we're doing more software, but a fundamental building block that allows people to build other technology around that. So whether it's intelligent sensing for traffic pattern sensing in smart cities, or detecting how much water is being used in a meter, or indeed, blood pressure and things like that on wearables. We do a building block, and then it's our clever, innovative chip partners that actually put the other functionality around it to customize it to the application.
Talk a little bit about Embed, the history of Embed and where it is today and where's it going in the future.
Wow, so I mentioned earlier sort of cornerstone hardware IP that we've done in the past. Embed is really the same thing on software, and it actually started with some interesting engineers inside ARM that were actually working with some art students in London, and they were looking at how they would start to bring technology into some of their final year projects actually, and it evolved there and said, this is an interesting idea. And if you look at IoT, the idea of putting something out there that's doing some sensing, there's a lot of software that you need to do to gather that information and push it back up into the cloud, up through your cell towers and through the rest of the infrastructure. And what we're trying to do is put that software in place so a company, a city planner or a lighting company or whatever can just focus on what they need to do, and the connectivity pieces, the security pieces, and some of the basic processing, we deliver those sort of pieces of software. So what Embed does is a piece of software that sits on top of the microcontroller and provides that connectivity back up into the network, up to a gateway or all the way back through IP, right up into the infrastructure, and does it in a secure way.
Can you talk about the ecosystem that works with ARM to really start delivering these end-to-end industrial IoT, smart cities, smart transportation type systems?
Yeah, so I think like I mentioned earlier, and as you know, IoT is so wide. There's so many applications. One company cannot do everything. So we have a very modest part to play, providing those basic fundamental building blocks. You'll see people then taking that technology into chips. So people like Texas Instruments, Freescale, or I guess now they're NXP, Atmel, Intel, whoever, right, building the chips. You see people building platforms, whether that's the traditional industrial control guys like the Schneiders or Kontrons or Siemens, or those sort of people. You see people like GE. So one of the places we've been seeing Embed deployed is actually smart lighting systems with GE, controlling lights. And I think that's one of the interesting areas where it starts as controlling lights in a city, and then you think, well, with the real estate you have on the top of a light pole, you can start to get weather information. I'm hearing about gunshot detection, so you start to work out where things are going on. Obviously, seeing what traffic patterns are like and evolving on from there. So really, all of those ways down, we want our partners, fundamentally about ARM, is we want to do some standard blocks so other people can build innovation. And some people will do that on chips, some of those people will do it on platforms, and some of those people will do it in software.
So tell me about the history of ARM and how it became so pervasive in the ecosystem.
So we were founded 25 years ago, 13 people in a barn. Just to the north of London and Cambridge. In the US, everyone sets up in their garage. I've lived in San Jose for 15 years. But over in the UK, I guess there's a whole lot of farms that are unused, so everyone sets up in a barn. And those 13 people set about and realized that actually building chips themselves was going to be quite an expensive operation. And that really, going into a place where we could license technology and really empower a broader set of people to build stuff was the way to go. And so we started with that business model basically 25 years ago. And so here's a basic building block. We take a what we think is a pretty modest proportion of the chip price back to us as a royalty, and that gives plenty of opportunity for a partner to focus on their value add. So they don't have to build the processor technology itself, but they can be the specialist in connectivity or the user interface or whatever else they might do, security or crypto or things like that.
But why would a big company like NXP or Qualcomm, why wouldn't they go ahead and build the lower level reference architecture?
Well, they could, but why would you? And really, what it comes down to, we've, I think, done a pretty good job of getting a good enough processor and a very wide range of processors to touch the applications with a lot of software that sits there and just runs. And obviously people can go off and do their own thing. There are a number of custom devices out there, but certainly when you look at IoT, it's about not really just about the chip, but how are you going to go off and deploy a platform at scale? And that's going to need a broad set of partners like we talked about,
right.
Different types of software platforms, and that's really what ARM has managed to attract, is this ecosystem of things. So people can obviously go off and do their own thing. We welcome that sort of competition, and we see people continuing to innovate in the processor core. But most people are going to say, I'm going to take that as a building block and do my innovation around it.
Got it. Tell me about your role. What do you do?
I have the best marketing job on the planet. The reason why I say that is we go, because our technology takes a while to come into the marketplace, we look out quite far in distance. So we're talking to car manufacturers about connected cars. We're talking to farms about how they're going to go and connect up their fields. Some incredible work that people like John Deere are doing with precision agriculture, of course. I'm very excited about the healthcare space and what technology can do there. So I get this very wide range of things. We've even started to look at how technology is going to impact the most impoverished and most disadvantaged people on the planet with wearables optimized for people in India. We're seeing crazy things where people are measuring heart murmurs using a smartphone and basically an egg cup to actually help people do early heart murmur detection in places where you have maybe 50,000 people to one doctor. Yeah. So I get to go and do all of these things with absolutely no accountability at all, so it's fantastic.
Well, I'm going to get in the weeds in a minute, but one of the smartest devices I saw was this little device here. And the woman told me to put it up against my skin, right?
Yes.
Which I did.
Yes.
And it told me I was 41 years old.
Oh,
well, it told me my skin was 41 years old, right?
Yes.
So how does this work?
So that's interesting. There's some sensing technology that's detecting sort of moisture levels and things like that in the skin. I have to say this has caused quite a lot of angst inside the ARM community on this booth. Some of the younger ladies here also were diagnosed with 41, and I think some of the main things that have happened this year is around here. Moisturizer sales over the last 2 days have gone through the roof as all the people on here start to actually get their skin down. It's becoming a bit of a competition here. But it's just
where is ARM in here? So
so you basically have some sensing technology that brings in that information. That's not us. We basically do some simple processing of that, the moisture levels in the skin, and we'll communicate that to the smartphone via Bluetooth technology. And so our technology is managing that Bluetooth connection and doing the processing, the simple processing of what the skin moisture level is. And I haven't yet managed to break 41 yet, so I'm still there too, right with you.
Ian, thanks for your time.
Thanks very much for coming by.